Hey, what's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we're talking about Skam and their vicious new album, Sound of a Disease, via Perichor Records. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. Skam is a one-man, chaotic grindcore and crust band that was formed in Sweden in 2019 with themes focusing around the declining mental health of the world. This is music highly recommended for fans of Anaal Nathrakh, Nasum, Terrorizer, Misery Index, Disfear, and Fuck the Facts. As such, you can expect some very high-octane extreme music through and through with this one. The most obvious parallel here is definitely Anaal Nathrakh. There is absolutely no way that Skam are not huge fans given their very similar penchant for fusing highly aggressive, vaguely industrialized grind with sudden explosions of more epic, chaotic sounding vocals. That's a clip from one of my personal favorite tracks, When Liquid is the New Solid. This one really opens up the album on a solid note, providing a clear picture of what to expect moving forwards. Skam's sound is one of dense, almost impenetrable walls of distortion and bitter blackened vocals. The chugging riffs and vicious snarls make for an atmosphere of pure ultra-violence, and again, I love the additions of the semi-operatic sounding singing to add a little extra flavor. This track also has some really killer drumming, from the frequent fills to the adrenaline-pumping D-beats later on. And despite the intensity, Skam's music manages to be quite infectious at times. Perhaps the catchiest track in this vein is Millstone Gallows. This is another high-speed grindcore assault, but one that transitioned into a very earworm chorus that had me screaming along after just the first listen to the song's namesake. I'm not sure what the significance is of what Millstone Gallows means, but I'm all in at this point. But my personal favorite track on the album, and the one that caught my attention the most each listen, was Shit Out of Luck. This one easily gets the award for best guitar work on the album. The hooks on this one sound like they are racing to some unseen finish line and are likely to be too hazardous to listen to while driving. When combined with the harsh screams and some subtle punctuations of backup vocals, I nearly banged my head right off of my shoulders with this one. Now, unfortunately, the second half of this album is not as strong as the first, as around track 7 things start to feel a little bit stale for me. Not only is the songwriting just not as interesting in these later songs, I think that Sound of a Disease also falls victim to its own aforementioned strengths. While the sheer volume and velocity of the music initially makes for some serious stank-face reactions, over time it starts to become a little bit berating. There are some dynamic moments on the record, but by and large it goes at 11 for the vast majority of its 30-minute runtime. And as they say, if everything is heavy, nothing is heavy. Sadly, I would even use the word tedious to describe completing a full listen. All of that to say, my biggest constructive feedback for Skam would be to vary up the pacing a lot more and really focus in on how to make the biggest moments really pop with some stronger counterpoints. But all said and done, Sound of a Disease is still a worthwhile listen that does a good job of showcasing Skam's early promise within the genre, and again, with its short runtime, is an easy investment. Turning to my scales, I give it an 8 for enjoyability. The best songs are 10s, but all of these 7s in the second half really drag down the overall score. I give it an 8 for musicianship. While there is some impressive speed on display here in both the drums and the guitars, I'm rarely wowed enough by the performances to really offer any scores above a B in this area. And on a related note, I give it a 7 for innovation. If you've listened to Anaal Nathrakh, you've heard all of this before, and again, the instrumentation itself often comes off as a little on the generic and unmemorable side, save for the highlights I named earlier. So a 7.7 overall and a C+ for Skam and Sound of a Disease. A solid foundation for a band I'll definitely be watching for more from in the future. Get it again via Perichor Records. Y'all, thanks as always for watching, and let me know what you thought of this album and also your favorite grindcore album of 2020. And hey, stick around for more videos. I've got a review of Anaal Nathrakh's Endarkenment, album tier lists including Pig Destroyer, and interviews with bands on the podcast, so plenty of reasons to subscribe again if you have not already. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.